In a world that's changing like crazy, we're always told to find that safe, stable career and just stick with it, right? But what if I told you that playing it safe is actually the single riskiest move you can make today? We're about to dive into the art of personal disruption, how you can actually harness change and, well, speed up your own learning curve. So, this whole idea of disruption, it's not exactly new. It was famously coined by the legendary Clayton Christensen to explain how these tiny, nimble companies could come in and just totally upend massive industries. But what's really fascinating is how his colleague, Whitney Johnson, took that same powerful idea and applied it, not to companies, but to people, to you and to me. And that really brings us to this huge, almost mind-bending question. I want you to just imagine for a second. You are at the very top of your game. You're respected, you're successful, everybody wants to work with you. Why on earth would you choose to walk away from all of that and basically start all over again? To really get why someone would do that, let's dig into the story of someone who did exactly that. And this wasn't some reckless jump into the unknown. No, this was a very deliberate leap. Okay, so let me introduce you to Whitney Johnson. Back in the early 2000s, she was an absolute star equity analyst at Merrill Lynch. Her whole job was to make these big calls, buy or sell recommendations on major stocks, and let me tell you, she was incredibly good at it. And when I say good at it, I mean she was at the absolute top. We're talking about being quoted by name by Carlos Slim, who was, one of the wealthiest people on the entire planet. Her analysis was so on point that her recommendations could literally cause stock prices to jump or fall by several points. So this wasn't just a good job. This was a position of real power and respect. But here's the twist. She realized she had hit the top of her learning curve. The challenges just weren't there anymore. The growth had pretty much flatlined. And the work, well, it was still prestigious, but it wasn't giving her that emotional kick you get from learning and discovery. It turned out the emotional cost of staying put was way, way higher than the risk of leaving. So how do you even map out a journey like that? How do you know when you've hit that ceiling and when it's time to find a new wave to ride? Well, the answer lies in this really powerful mental model called the S-curve. Think of the S-curve of learning as a roadmap here. It shows us that growth is never, ever a straight line. It starts off slow, then it suddenly shoots up, and then finally it levels off. Understanding exactly where you are on this curve, well, that's the whole key to navigating your career. So the curve basically breaks down into three phases. First up, you've got the low end. This is where you are anytime you start a new role or learn a new skill. It feels like a total slog, right? You're putting in a ton of effort and it feels like you're getting nowhere. Then, bam, you hit a tipping point and you're in hypergrowth. This is the sweet spot. Everything just clicks, your skills skyrocket, it's totally exhilarating. And finally, you get to mastery. The work is second nature, but that's actually a warning sign. Growth slows down, and that's when boredom can really start to creep in. Now here's what's really cool, the neuroscience behind all this. That feeling of excitement during hypergrowth, that's your brain getting a huge rush of dopamine. It's the chemical reward for learning something new. But once you hit mastery, that chemical reward just fades away. Your brain is basically telling you, okay, cool, I've got this, what's next? So that feeling of boredom, it's not a sign of failure. It's a biological signal that it's time to disrupt yourself and go find a brand new S-curve to climb. Okay, so now we get the why and the what. But how do you actually do it? How do you accelerate your growth when you jump to a new curve? Well, this framework gives us 7 very specific tools. Think of these as the 7 gears in your own personal growth engine. Now, each one is a whole topic in itself, but they all work together to really get you moving. To give you the most practical stuff to start with, we're going to zoom in on 3 of them that are just absolutely critical for making that next big leap. First on the list, take the right kind of risks. See, not all risks are the same. Competitive risk is when you try to be better than someone else in a field that's already crowded. It feels safer because, hey, the market is already proven. But market risk, that's different. That's playing in a space where nobody else is. You're creating something brand new. The market might be unproven, but if it works, you get to own the whole thing. So which one do you pick? I mean, our brains are screaming for the safety of competitive risk, but the data here is just crystal clear. Research shows that ventures that take on market risk have 6 times higher odds of success. 6 times, think about that. It's because it's so much better to be the only one doing something than to be the 10th person trying to do it just a tiny bit better. All right, the next tool is one that feels completely backwards. Embrace constraints. We usually think that to be creative, we need unlimited everything time, money, support. But actually, the opposite is often true. Constraints are what force us to be resourceful and really, truly innovative. Okay, perfect example. The movie Jaws. The mechanical shark they built was constantly breaking down. The director, Steven Spielberg, was way over budget and behind schedule. So what was his constraint? He couldn't actually show the shark. So he was forced to shoot from the shark's perspective, just using that fin and that iconic music. And the result? A way more suspenseful, absolutely terrifying movie. The constraint wasn't a problem. It was the spark for genius.
And our third key tool, play to your distinctive strengths. Now, this is deeper than just do what you're good at. A distinctive strength is something you do uniquely well. And the clues? They're usually hiding in plain sight. What's a compliment you always brush off because to you, that skill just feels so easy and natural? That's probably it. What's something that drives you nuts when other people can't do it? That's another huge sign. Figuring this out is so important because your unique strength is the one thing nobody else can compete with.
So let's zoom out for a second. Why does any of this matter beyond just our own individual careers? Well, because this mindset, it's the engine behind all innovation. It's actually really simple when you think about it. You just cannot have a high-growth, innovative company without high-growth, innovative people inside it. A company's ability to change and grow is really just the sum of its people's ability to do the exact same thing. And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. We always talk about disruptive companies, but companies are really just collections of people. Innovation doesn't just magically happen in a boardroom. It happens when one person decides to learn something new, to take the right kind of risk, and to jump onto a new S-curve. People are the real agents of disruption. Which, of course, brings the whole question right back to you. Where are you on your curve? Are you at the low end, struggling through? Are you in that sweet spot of hypergrowth? Or are you nearing mastery, feeling that comfortable boredom start to set in? If you're at the top, don't just ignore that feeling. It's a signal. So the real question is, what's your next S-curve?